would like to call the meeting to order. If you would kindly stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Mr. Belair, would you kindly introduce our guest this evening?
Sure. Good evening, everyone, and soon to be happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Tonight we have Pat Seedorf, who is our Union President for the Administrators Association, Linda Braley, our Vice President for the Waterford Federation of Classroom Teachers. Our first selectman, Dan Stewart, is over here on the side. I know he's here to support his daughter as well as the students here from Clark Lane Middle School this evening. We also have Tess Townsend from the New London Day. Jan Spellman from Wrexham Park Commission is here this evening. And did I miss anybody else? Alan Walensky. Oh, Alan, I couldn't see the red shirt. How are you? It is. I know. We just saw each other last night in this room. Yeah. And I'd like to welcome the many students from Clark Lane Middle School, some of the staff, as well as their parents. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you. At this time, do we have any comments from our guests this evening? Any comments from our guests? Hearing none, we can move right to our first presentation. Clark Lane.
Well, I'm really pleased to welcome students from Clark Lane Middle School as well as three of our staff members, JG and A. We also have Dan Seltzer, and we also have Heather Joyner here this evening. We started an exciting extracurricular opportunity for our students at Clark Lane Middle School more than a year ago. And I have to tell you, one morning I was coming through this doorway to walk into the conference room for a meeting, and facing me was a board very much like this, and it happened to be my portrait. So I walked right into myself, and it was a surprise note from the students at Clark Lane Middle School just to let me know that they were thinking of me and their Rubik's Cube. So it really made my day. So I've been waiting for the opportunity to invite the students along with their coaches to the meeting this evening, and I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Gianna.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Belair, and thank you to members of the Board of Education. Not only have we done, Mr. Belair, we've also done our first lesson. Not many people have seen that one, but we'll try to recreate that and get it out there. So back in 1981, a teacher actually created the Rubik's Cube, and I have one of the copies of the patent. And he created it for his students to try to teach them all about perseverance. And that's what we're all about here at the Rubik's Cube Club at Clark Lane. And before I actually turn the kids loose and start having them spin, I really want to put in perspective exactly what they're doing. Okay? We all know that there's one solution to the cube. That's to get all the colors on the side to be exactly equal. Alright? So how many different combinations do you think there are? So I want you to think in your head for a minute, how many do you think different ways I could arrange that? So you think 1,000? You think in millions? You think in billions? Think about it for a second. Okay? So the correct answer is 43 quintillion different ways. Now how big is 43 quintillion? Did a little research today and found out that if you took pennies and covered the earth with pennies, 1 quintillion pennies would go around the earth 2 times. So that 43 quintillion, you're covering the earth 86 times with pennies. That's the number of different combinations I have. And these students are going to take 25 cubes and solve them in about 6 minutes, guys? That's their goal. They're going to find the solutions to all of those. So I'm going to go ahead and get them started, and I'll keep talking to you. Mr. Joyner and I will talk to you at the same time. Okay? Everybody ready? All right, hands on our table. And begin. Alright, so what typically happens at a competition, we typically have 8 students that will gather around the table, and there'll be 25 cubes, and their goal is to solve as many, or solve those 25 cubes as fast as possible. And we actually started the club back in September. When we started our club, not a single student knew how to solve those cubes. Not a single one, including Mr. Joyner and I. And so what we did is we spent time with them, and we spent time at our lunch. Everyone solved already? No, white face. Oh, white face, okay. So what we did is we worked with kids at lunchtime. Next thing you know, they were staying after school, and it just really caught on. And I know Mr. we talked about, Mr. Sack said, like everywhere he went, kids were spinning cubes in the hallway. They didn't want to distract them. I mean, these kids were actually spinning the cube, learning, and they just never gave up trying to find a solution. They were first one solved in about 51 seconds. Okay? Another one done right there. There's another one. Remember, waiting for the combination. Okay? So they started solving the cubes, and here's what the lessons were lessons in perseverance, in teamwork, and working together. And what they have to do is they have to actually, look at the cube and say, how do I figure out this next step? And talk to each other. And it's not just memory, okay? It's actually looking at the cube and doing that 3D look and say, okay, if this portion of the cube is right here, and I turn it here and I turn it here, how do I move it, to a new location? And once I get in that location, how do I keep it in that location? So the communication and the teamwork that's taken place has been phenomenal. One of my favorite stories is about Owen Seltzer. Owen is in the middle, spinning the cube, third one over from the left-hand side. And actually, after about 2 weeks of trying, Owen came to me and said, Mr. G, I think I'm going to quit. He says, I just can't get it. It's very frustrating. And I said, Owen, just go home. Set a goal for yourself to try to get one more side. He was able to get to 2 sides. He said, can do a little bit more? He goes, I think I can. And next thing you know, he came back in after a weekend and he said, I figured out how to solve it. When we went to our second competition, Owen came in first place in the individual competition. So he's done a fantastic job with that. Each of our students, like I said, is really persevering and working hard, setting goals, and they've just been incredible kids. We did expand from not just spinning cubes to creating mosaics. And you see the mosaic that's up there. I'll let Mr. Joyner talk about that in a second. But the ones that we did, I think the first one we did was Kennedy. And then we did Martin Luther King. We've been taking the mosaics and actually bringing it to the social studies classroom. And you can imagine one of our social studies teachers, Mr. Higgins, he said to me, do you think you can do Frederick Douglass? I said, of course we can do Frederick Douglass. Until we found out there were no color pictures of Frederick Douglass. You can imagine how difficult it was for us to create a mosaic. But when he had that mosaic in the classroom, everybody was able to look at that mosaic and he said his classroom just became more alive. He was able to make more connections to it. So I'm going to turn over to Mrs. Joyner for a minute and she'll just explain to you how to just make the mosaics, and it's an interesting story about 2 of the girls who actually created this one.
Yeah, well, before I start, let me introduce our stars here. Over on the right, I have Thomas Capassi, who's a 7th grader, and Lucas Ramirez, who's also 7th grade, Owen Seltzer, 7th grade, Josh Martin, is an 8th grader, right? Elise Tuckwood is 7th grade, and Gretchen Duza is 8th grade. On stage 4. That's part of the communication that's happening. This mosaic, we've done a lot that have been published on the website, so the pattern was already there for us. This one is really special, and I'm really proud of Gretchen and Elise, because they found the picture, they put it into the computer program and designed it, and then put it into another program that we needed to make the pattern so that our kids after school could actually make it. So this one is, they came up with the idea of the picture, they found the picture, they created it and added the word thanks onto it and did it all by themselves. It's really such an accomplishment for them.
As I'm watching Heather, I just see the passion in her face as she's talking about it, and she was really excited about that. And I'll tell you right now, myself too, when you watch these kids, and they come to you and they say, I finally figured out how to do it. They're really proud of the accomplishment. And it has really good spread throughout the classroom, throughout Clark Lane. We are at a point right now where Heather and I will be going to the Winter League Middle School and making a presentation at their conference in March and trying to get other schools to try to bring it into their classroom. Looks like they need me over there, ready to finish up here. Looks like we're going to break 6 minutes without a problem.
Lucas is finishing.
5:19.
Okay.
It's so good. They do solo competitions after competitions, and I think 42 seconds was one of them.
All right.
Hey. Like I said, normally we would have 8 students, and could somebody tell us what's your record for 8 students doing 25 shoots? 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Wow.
And it ranks about 66 in the nation right now. So, we're only getting into So this time I'd like to introduce Lisa Piccarazzi. Lisa is with Dominion here in Waterford, and they have graciously made a donation to our club, and I'll let Lisa speak.
Well, wow, I just have to say, I am really impressed with you guys. That is really terrific work. My name is Lisa Piccarazzi, and I work over at Dominion and also right on the town of Waterford. And Dominion I'm on a community investment board there, and we're obviously very interested in furthering this STEM initiative for kids, science, technology, engineering, and math. And we give over $325,000 to education programs every year out of our home office in Virginia. And we have grants in our local communities. So they submitted a grant on behalf of the high school for the kids in this initiative. And we're all excited about this because, it is a science and math initiative. And I don't know, I'm just thinking about how the perseverance thing is just the best, right? There's lots of science and math links, but with our instant society, we just, I think we're jamming up our brains here with our little iPhones because we have to have a reaction or results in a minute. Great to see these kids working at that. And so on behalf of Dominion, we'd like to present Clark Lane Middle School with $1,000 to buy.
Got a picture there?
Sure.
Whatever you say.
Of course, here. There we go.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
We'll just take a 30-second recess here for a minute while people are leaving.
Emergency repair kit.
That's exciting. Good news.
Lisa, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. I just decided what I wanted to bring me in the hospital.
There you go.
No, we're going to try to throw me in the hospital.
Yeah. Will they go right now? Hopefully that'll come. No. Better be on. I'm going to call him.
Well, because I'm sure there's no possible way that anybody, don't give me just going to do it all the time.
Thank you very much, Jay. That was a wonderful way to start.
Like we really indicate, you got to learn that kind of special 3D vision.
Yeah.
And I should be able to bring that kind of That's just like
I know I could. All right, we're back in order, I believe. And we move to our next item on the agenda, which will concern our strategic planning. And Mr. Belair, would you like to introduce Doreen?
Just to set a context for our conversation tonight around this presentation, if you recall, one of the board's goals that they've set for this year is to design a strategic planning process that will go into effect in FY16. And so whenever you're engaged in a process, there's also a budgetary implication. And so soon after the board adopted the goals, Craig and I had an opportunity to sit with Dr. Eileen Howley, Executive Director, over at Project Learn, as well as Doreen Marvin. And we had some conversation around strategic planning. And one of the things that I've come to understand in the area with the 24th district as part of Project Learn is that this has been the work of Learn with a number of our districts. So in reaching out to my superintendent colleagues, heard very positive things in regards to the process that was underway in their particular communities. I think the real positive of the process that we'll design here for Waterford is tailored for Waterford. It's not a cookie cutter. And Waterford has been engaged in the past with a strategic planning process, and I would say during that particular time, the model was a rather grand model. And so we really talked about in a pre-planning meeting that the model really ought to engage the stakeholders, but it also ought to be manageable so that there's frequent feedback and key stakeholder groups have an opportunity to participate. So following that conversation, Doreen put together a proposal, which you all have in your board packet, and they're here this evening to present the proposal and answer any questions that you might have. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate the opportunity to see you. We actually, our technical name now is Learn, there's no project.
That's right, learn.
Why you remember this Learn, and it's a delight to be here with the Waterford organization. And I've had the great opportunity to work with a number of administrators this summer this year. It's a delight to get to know the district deeper and differently. And that work is really about coherence. When it comes to strategic planning, that is a process of aligning
I think I should give you my microphone.
Yeah.
Well,
Or even...
I heard I have mine.
If it's on, it's not going to broadcast in the room, it will go for the video.
Okay, very good. So trust the process, and I'll start again. I'll push the play button and say, okay, well, we're delighted to be here. And strategic planning really is about a process of aligning and creating coherence between what we do in our schools and what our community wants from us. And so internally, your schools have been working hard on aligning and creating coherence and congruence across their goals and their expectations. And so in that spirit, we're here tonight to share with you a strategic planning process that I think is very contemporary and responsive to the needs of the times. And coming from a place where we had done a lot of strategic planning early in my career, I think that process has emerged and evolved in new and different ways. So I'm delighted to share, to introduce you to Doreen Marvin, who's my Director of Development, who's here really to talk about the particulars of how we're recommending for Waterford in this current context a strategic planning process that we think might be helpful to you. So Doreen.
Thank you, Eileen. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you to the Board of Ed and those that I've worked with in the past on some other number of projects. It's great to see you again. As you know, Learn is your educational service center, and we have been engaged in strategic planning with a number of districts. As I was going through some folders today looking at for some things, I realized that we actually started this work back when Waterford started theirs in the Cambridge model with Dr. Title, and I helped him with that. So I don't know whether that says it's good that we've been around that long or not. I'm not totally sure. But just to give you a little bit of background, most recently we've been working with Old Lyme, Colchester, Norwich. We even weathered the ferry and went over to Fisher's Island and did some work over there. And then in the past we've done work with Ledyard, Groton, and East Haddam. That's just a flavor. Also, some of our strategic planning has taken us outside the education field into human services. So specifically, we worked with OIC, Hispanic Alliance, some work with Community Health Center, the local centers, and also some work in Washington State. So we've got a breadth of background, a breadth of experience in this field, and have the national perspective as well as a state perspective and a local perspective. And by local, I mean also we understand what's going on outside of education, too, and what might be impacting your families and then the school system as well. We have a small team of folks who work on this. So having a team with one point person for you, and then a small team of folks, which allows us to be very flexible in meeting with your stakeholder groups. It doesn't take an awful lot for us to schedule all these meetings and things like that, and I'll go into the process a little bit in a moment. And we've got training in negotiation, facilitating effective meetings, really dealing with difficult dynamics sometimes in groups, as well as strategic planning and systems thinking and design. And as I said, we have worked with Waterford in the past. In speaking with your administrators, Dr. Belair and Craig, who's sitting behind me, and I feel awkward with my back there, we really talked about what did they think in this moment, in 2014, 2015, 2016, did they think would work for Waterford. And please know that anything that's in the proposal is completely flexible, and that really is a starting point for discussion. But we felt as though it might make sense to have a steering committee, so a group of folks that you all would identify, could include administrators. Really, the makeup is up to you, as well as the number of people also. We have some recommendations about you wouldn't want it to be, 150 people that are meeting all the time, but something much smaller than that. Doing a quick electronic survey, and we have some ways to be able to do that, to gather some information. And then meeting with stakeholder groups, you all could identify a number of groups that meet and have impact and would have some input into the school system. So maybe meeting with your town elected officials, meeting with the Rotary, Parks and Recreation and Parks, there it is, meeting with that group, youth services, things like that. And we would go to their already existing meetings, take 20, 25 minutes of their time, ask a few questions. We gather all that information. We like to call them specifications, almost as we were talking about science, technology, engineering, and math, like an engineer looks at specifications. And then we would work with the steering committee to be able to put those together, review the mission, see if it's still relevant, do you want to change it, what's the vision for the community. Really, we don't recommend any more than 3 years out. Maybe some things might be 5 years. You all are finished with facilities projects, the big ones, so that may not be on there, right? Fingers crossed. And from there, then we would work with the administrators to put together some action items to that. We also, because you cross through your budget planning process, we would keep feeding back to the superintendent and administrators and then to the Board of Ed. Some things that if there are things that appear to be coming up that might have a big impact on your budget, we'd make sure that you know about those through the process with the steering committee. So it can inform your budget process a little bit and not be, what I would say, parallel paths. They could intersect at points in time. And then we would work with the steering committee to make sure that they were ready to do a presentation to the full board, and nothing would be finalized, of course, until you acted upon it. We'd be looking in terms of our discussions starting in July of 2015, and then moving forth and through a process and be ready for presentation to the board in the March-April timeframe. So I'd be happy to answer questions.
Questions from the board?
Shirley, would you include students in some of these committees, or?
We highly recommend that there are students either on the steering committee or at a minimum that we can use them for gathering some surveys and for meeting as a focus group at the high school and middle school.
Because I was involved with the 2 strategic planning committees we had. They were 5 years each. And I like your outline. I like a lot of the concepts that you have in here. And I think this will be much easier to follow. I'm just happy we're doing this again because we've been so concentrating the last, 8-10 years on construction.
Sure.
And this is getting back to the students and the faculty and the town. So, and I'm glad you're including all of our other town agencies. Rec and Parks is very important. And so is Youth Service Bureau, and we all, work together. And I think that's what makes Waterford such a nice town to live in.
Yeah.
Greg?
It's on the page.
There's an approximation, and the cost is $7,600 inclusive of all materials and travel, and it's not to exceed that amount.
Correct.
Other questions from the board? What I really like seeing here was your accessibility and availability, and that you'll get out into the different sites.
Going to the groups versus the
yeah,
groups coming to us.
That's really making an effort, I think. Also, coming back to the board and to the administration frequently. But my only question, and I'm not sure whether the administration shared with you our new goals for 2014-15.
At the time, they hadn't been fully
Okay.
approved.
Yes.
So can you just talk a little bit about how the goals play into the strategic planning? You mentioned the time frame, so.
If yours are all completed now, if the board is comfortable with it, if they've all been voted upon, then that's where we would start, is to look at those and say, okay, what's in the district that's already an asset for those, and where might there be some needs to fill where those goals are. It does not always make sense to recreate the wheel and to put those in. Now, there may be some strategies under those that might be slightly different for elementary versus high school, or for administration versus teaching staff, or any of those combinations. But those would be a basis and what I would call almost the concrete foundation for things. The mission then being at the top, if you will.
I think that's what prompted us to look at our mission statement, and we need to go back to that.
And that's where it connects into the work that your administrators do, setting their school-driven goals and the goals that they ask teachers to set, the student learning objectives that they set, all become aligned. And so the mission is central to doing that, and that's where Jerry and his staff work to align the work within the school system to that. And so the strategic process is really to gain that community input to say, yeah, let's see how we, here's some other thoughts about how we want that lived, or we appreciate how that's done, and we can receive good, positive affirmation for some of those directions as well. So it's not always change. Sometimes it's affirming the direction that the school district is in as well.
And also if you think about your high school's accreditation, all those pieces, why reinvent those wheels? They've already done them. We can pull it right in and make that a nice document and make it all flow and more coherent within that.
Any other questions?
I may expose my ignorance to the whole thing, but does LEARN have a concise mission statement?
We do.
The vision is to ensure that every child has access to high-quality public education, systems of education, support, and service. And yes, I do memorize that. Please. Right up
This is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's at the top of the page, and at the very bottom, because we say the vision is in the sky, and that's what's lofty, and that's what we're always heading toward, and that's our job to support the school districts in southeastern Connecticut. But it's grounded in a mission of working with and for our member districts to improve the quality of public education for all learners. And what we do as your Regional Educational Service Center is we provide leadership for teaching and learning, we provide high-quality, innovative schools and programs, and we identify and deliver customized and cost-effective programs and services. This is an example that we believe is trying to create a customized service for you to help you work with your community to help shape your strategic vision going forward, your strategic plan.
Thank you.
And we think it's pretty cost effective too.
Well, I know the board did establish its goals, and one of our goals was to start strategic planning. You haven't seen it. So
Check.
So we're right there. So with that, Sharon?
The timeline starts in July. Is there a reason why you would wait so long to
New budget season, we don't have a budget for this year.
Makes sense.
But on that point, Sharon, I would like to ask the board for a consensus to see if we can't move forward and would go as part of our budget planning this year, but I think it's along with our goals, so I would like to get that feedback. Right.
Did we listen to anything from any other things?
We have not.
Are there other things?
Far more elaborate vendors, far more costly vendors.
I was just to say, we paid a lot more back when we did the 5-year strategic plans. We did two sessions of those, and it was a lot more than the $7,600.
It's a good question, and it's one that I asked Doreen when we met. And so, Doreen, did you want to weigh in on that?
Sure. Sure. There are many folks out there who can do work. I would like to say that ours is of high quality and satisfactory in our background in education, and knowing the town of Waterford, the community of Waterford, the region, gives us somewhat of an advantage there. There are some local companies that do this, not necessarily in education specifically. And as your educational service center, and since you are members for us, your cost is very reasonable. And also, it does help to move through a bidding process because you're members with the Educational Service Center. If you go out to bid, we've estimated for lots of things that folks might go out to bid that in and of itself will cost you between $2,500 and $3,000 just to do a bidding process. So if it is something that you wanted to do, we'd be happy to help you put together a bid.
So this is a quick question, not about the money, but would the Friendship School be involved in this also, in the strategic planning? Okay.
Yeah, because we consider that your school
Right.
as well. Yeah.
I do too.
Greg?
I just wonder how comfortable the board is with only one proposal before us. And I suspect that you would be the low bidder, and I have no reason to doubt your confidence, but in terms of doing our homework and due diligence,
Sure.
we only have one proposal before us. No, I can be persuaded, though.
Speaking
We
from
can bring
our...
others forward. I think the key was after we met, I then reached out to the other area superintendents and asked about the process. I also compared the cost that was asked and the satisfaction. And I think the biggest plus that I learned is the customization for the process. So the steering committee is going to identify the stakeholder groups. Although it says 5, it doesn't have to be 5. And I think it's part of the process that we identify. So if the board wants to entertain other proposals, we can go for other proposals.
So that's not your recommendation.
It's not.
And just speaking, because we've had experience with Learn, we have members that serve, so we know the quality of the work that Learn does. And I know we've worked with Doreen over the years with the development of the Friendship School. So we're very familiar, and again, I'll reiterate what I said earlier, that the accessibility, I think, is very important, that we know the type of work and that you'll be becoming accessible to us. So, of course, this does have to go through the budget process.
It does.
So,
It would be a separate line item in our budget.
The only other thing I would say, Kathleen, if I may, is that, Learn is your regional education service. We're here for the purpose of ensuring that every child has access to high quality public education. So we're not for profit, we're not here to make money. We're here really to service you and provide that service. And that's the spirit in which we come here tonight, is that our job is to service the region and provide you the highest quality service that we can. And we're here to help you whatever direction you choose. If we're here to either provide that direct delivery of service or help you in finding another vendor. And we can also derive very different proposals, and we have the skills to head in different directions should you need that. But just know that we're here to support you in whatever direction.
we appreciate that. So no other questions, comments? We thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice seeing you.
Same here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sherry, for the service.
Yes, thank you.
Our services. She serves not only on the Learn Governing Board. Our Learn is governed by elected officials in each of the towns that we service. And Sherry not only sits on that board as our member districts do, but she also serves as the chairperson, which means she has added responsibilities.
Yes, she does.
So I'm very grateful to her for that service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be in touch. Okay.
Remember that microphone when you do it.
That will take us
Get it out of it.
right to the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from October 23rd, regular meetings, the monthly financial expenditure report for October 2014, and the food service financial report for July through September 2014. Somebody care to make a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second by James. Any comments, corrections? Hearing none, we can move to vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That consent agenda is approved. Reading and review of correspondence.
I have one piece of correspondence that I'd like to share with the board, and it comes in an email format from Danny Gorman, our Youth Services Director. And I'm going to use a little emphasis in the way I read this. Hi, everyone. On behalf of all of us at Waterford Youth Services, thank you for all of your efforts with stuffing 2 buses. This was the first year that we had to call in a backup because Clark Lane Middle School practically filled the first bus. It was an amazing effort. We were incredibly touched by the generosity of our students, staff, and administrators. Everyone exceeded our expectations. So this was a great correspondence to receive. So I just thought I'd share it.
Thank you. Anything else?
The only correspondence I have.
Okay, and I have none. So that will take us right to your report.
So I have a few items that I'd like to share tonight, and this is kind of an interesting title. This is from Nerd Wallet. So when I received this, I was a little bit suspicious, Nerd Wallet. So I did a little Google search, and many of you may know, and I've certainly educated myself, so the next time I'm interested in purchasing a credit card, I'm going to research with Nerd Wallet. Nerd Wallet is out of San Francisco. It's a consumer advocacy website. They recently conducted a study to determine which school districts offer parents the best value for their money, in Connecticut, and Waterford ranks among the top 20. In fact, in the state of Connecticut, we rated 18th, and this was really taking a look at the weighted cost of living metrics among the following school quality indicators: student achievement, college readiness, class size, and so of the 121 districts that they reviewed, Waterford ranked 18th. And in doing the research, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, they're highly regarded, and they have a great team of leadership within that. So I shared with you the press release, and I think it's great news in the assessment of Waterford. The second item that I wanted to share with you is that we have some spectacular celebrations of Veterans Day all across the district with our schools. Kathleen and I joined Dan Stewart along with the students from our culinary program at Waterford High School and students from our choir. And our students cooked lunch for 70 veterans over at the community center. Kathleen, Dan, and I got to play waiter and waitress and serve all the veterans and offered some remarks, and it was just a great celebration. Something was happening in every place. We joined Pat Fedor and her staff and students, and I think it was more than 70 veterans that were recognized. And as Pat kidded, next time we'll be at the Guard because we just had a full house, and it was really wonderful. And Quaker Hill had a parade down to the Quaker Hill Green. They placed a wreath down on the green. They hosted more than 40 veterans. So the honor, the celebration, and the recognition was throughout our schools in Waterford, and I think it's something we ought to be very, very proud of. Sure.
I think you said one thing. And the way Pat Fedor ran that ceremony, I'm sure she impressed the military because it was precision right down to the second. That was just
Jesse Ritter joined us. I mean, it was just a great, great event. It really had Waterford Public Schools right out there in the spotlight. It was really nice. It was very, very nice. And then Jim Sachs had nothing to do on Sunday, November 16th, and early in the morning he sent me an email as we had a number of our middle school students attend the first organized TED Talk Youth Day at Connecticut College. And we had Jan Heibel, Cheryl Morosky, and Beth Sheridan, along with one of Jim's daughters who attends Connecticut College, really engaged with our kids, really helped them with their public speaking. And as Jim indicated, he says, our students were totally professional, polished, and passionate. And isn't that what we all hope for? It was absolutely superb. So it was another great event, and again, our students had the opportunity to participate in that. I also just wanted to point out to you the artwork that's on display is from our students from Oswegatchie, and it's really every single grade level represented, not only in this room, but also out in the corridor, so that was great. Just to bring you up to speed, we had the RTM the other night approve the teacher contract. So we were pleased with the outcome there. We're looking to bring forward to you the school calendar for the next school year in December. That will be on our agenda. The other night at our school building committee, we took a look at an early proposal on potentially solar energy opportunity at Waterford High School, and we're going to do a follow-up meeting, and I believe an invitation went out. to other town officials, Board of Finance Chair, First Selectman, Finance Director, both for the board as well as the town, and a couple of other folks, because as we're winding down the project, and if we're looking at really expending just about all of the dollars, we want to be sure that everybody's working together in an agreement. But we will invite back the consultants and a representative that can add a phase to the project and take us and guide us through the school construction unit. So we're going to be taking a look at that very closely, and we'll keep the board informed. We had a great parent conference day on Veterans Day. It was something that we hadn't tried. And if you looked at the high school parking lot, it was packed all day long. It was very, very successful. It was definitely a day for perseverance on the part of our staff. In the past we kind of spread it out over the 3 half days, but the early returns from both parents, it was really one less day of childcare. They appreciated having it. There was more flexibility with time, and the early response from staff, they really appreciated. As tired as they were at the end of the day, it was a very, very productive day. So that was something that we shared with you with the calendar last year. It was something we wanted to try, and so we'll most likely be having conversation with the Federation and taking a look at that in the calendar again next year. We need to have a Finance Committee meeting in December, and I'd like to schedule that meeting prior to the board meeting, and Bob and I will give you an update as to where we stand with the FY15 budget, so if you could please mark that on your calendar. You have in front of you an invitation for Kathy Suprin's retirement dinner. I believe that's Friday the 19th of December. And I had extended to Kathy an invitation to come to our board meeting on the 18th, and an opportunity for us to recognize her at that point in time. Last evening, so I had about 3 items when I sent this out, and it's just built over the last few days. But last night at the Cash Recognition for Excellence, we had a number of staff from Quaker Hill recognized for the Fit Girls Running Club. And Andre sent out an email to the entire staff this morning. I understood that you were present last night for that particular gathering, and really a credit to, I think we have 5 different staff members at Quaker Hill, 4 teachers and one of our paraprofessionals that have organized the club. And as Andre indicated, not only are there great benefits for their health, but it's also great benefits for the track team now at the high school, because these are girls that have been engaged for 5 years. But that was nice that came out from the high school, really recognizing our staff. Also, I'll distribute to you the program. I have let you know that one of our students participated at the Grand Ole Opry in the all-national ensemble, and you can find on the page that's marked off Elena Malukas' name, Waterford High School student. So Jody, you might want to pass that along. I thought that was great. And I have one other item that I just wanted to share with you. We had a situation this morning prior to the start of school at Quaker Hill, and it was during the morning recess. And at the elementary, when the kids arrive, we have an outdoor recess on good weather days. And this morning, although it was a little chilly, it wasn't quite as cold as yesterday morning. And as the students were gathering on the playground, Chris Discordia was out on recess duty, and he noticed something a little suspicious, and he was able to confiscate from one of the students who brought in a bullet to school, and then about a 5-inch length piece of metal that wasn't connected to the bullet. It is part of a pellet gun. And Chris handled the situation very well, without any fanfare, was able to escort the student into the building, call the police, get a hold of the parent. He took the opportunity throughout the course of the day to visit with all 4th graders and talk to the students about the incident and remind them that everyone has a responsibility for safety, and to make sure whenever you feel that kids aren't feeling safe that you alert an adult. Early tonight, Chris also sent a school messenger voicemail out to all of our parents. And although I was hoping NBC News was here tonight for Rubik's Cube, they were really here for this event. So most likely after the board meeting tonight, I'll be doing an interview with the press. I had a chance to talk with them before, but I wanted to share with the board the incident today, how well it was handled, and any parents that have concerns have been asked to give Chris a call. Job well done, and whenever situations like this happen, unfortunately, they also become teachable moments and a chance for us to talk to our kids and our parents. But it was important that I reported to you today. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And if I may just thank you, Principal Discordia, for handling the situation correctly. Thank you very much. If I may preempt just for one moment on the committee report, the superintendent just talked about our veterans. I would just like to point out that Captain Dan Baez was just inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Veterans Hall of Fame up in Hartford. And so I wanted to be sure to give him recognition tonight. And also on the weekend, several of our students have fallen heroes, and I know Jody was present as well as Jake Campo. There was a bench dedicated to the fallen heroes from Waterford, all Waterford students from the various wards. So if you're over at near the gazebo there, you can see the nice bench that was dedicated. So, and just to go along with our highlighting all of our veterans in the community. So that takes us to our committee reports. I know we've been able to. So. And Anne, yes, you may.
I'm jumping ahead. That's fine. The Waterford, Connecticut Athletic Hall of Fame is having their induction next week, Friday. So even though it was in today's paper as this Friday, it is the 28th, and there'll be several inductees. Yeah. So the Cactus Jack. Yeah. So it'll be at Langley's at 6.
Thank you for that correction. Okay. Other reports? Jody?
Well, Jerry gave an update on the school building committee. The Youth Service Bureau is very busy trying to get holiday baskets together, and also they're still, again, this year having a basket family program, so if anybody is interested, we can really use your help. We have a lot of families in need here in Waterford. Just call the Youth Service Bureau and they can give you some information if you're interested. And also, Mike Bassetto is sponsoring again Bassetto's Bash at the Beach, and that's going to be on Friday, January 2nd at 6 o'clock. And what Mike has done for us in the past is he's donated money to the Youth Service Bureau for counseling, and also this year because the Waterford Junior Senior League softball team, we're trying to get lights up at Lisa Deirdrick Field, and he also donated some money to that project last year, and both organizations are on his list for this year for donations. So our high school girls do play at Lisa Deirdrick Field, so if anybody would like to go, I have tickets, and it would be nice to support this project because he does do a lot of, this committee does a lot of good work in both Waterford and New London. So just let me know if you'd like a ticket.
What was the
Friday, January 2nd. They moved it to Friday this year because there's a basketball game on Saturday on January 3rd. So this will be Friday, January 2nd at Ocean Beach. At Ocean Beach. It's Port and Starboard.
Thank you, Jody.
You're welcome. We didn't have a early childhood meeting.
Any other reports? I can just say that Assistant Superintendent Mr. Powers and Superintendent, and I think Kevin was at the delegate assembly we attended the CAPE conference. It was very well done. I'd like to try to encourage more board members to attend in the future. I did bring back, we received another award, the Board Leadership Award. I'm not sure how many years this is, but congratulations to everyone. And I'll give this to Joyce and she can put it out. It's for high standards, dedication, and teamwork. So take a look. And the exciting part, and I want to recognize Mr. Diller, he didn't say it was his birthday. And I only found out near the end of the evening, but we heard from, and help me if I don't pronounce it right, Rich.
Astronaut Rich.
It was a wonderful presentation. Didn't you enjoy that? He was really very invigorating and talked all about the International Space Station. So it was kind of a highlight.
And really from a STEM perspective and how well he was prepared, which got him excited as a student. He's a Connecticut lifelong resident.
Waterbury.
Waterbury.
Right. And so it was really encouraged science studies, and it was very, very well attended. And then I attended 2 workshops on the Common Core, and surprising, and help me, Craig, if I don't say it right, but the state has plenty of materials out there for parents on resources and a lot. So if you're interested, you can spread the word, to get on the website to take a look at the Common Core. Jody?
Well, I was going to say that's a great idea because that topic got brought up at our Parents Liaison Council meeting.
And so, Jody, as a result of that, for our parent conferences, our math specialists at the elementary level had a handout, and they've got a web page for parents to go to. I was going to share that at our next parent liaison, but it was really a quick response, quick turnaround from a request from our parents.
But I did share at that committee that our own district has already had the demonstrations and that it's on the website and that parents can look, so we're ahead of many of the other districts. Just to point that out. And then the Waterford Education Foundation, I think, is going to hold a golf tournament this year. In July, is it, Jim? In July, so stay tuned for that. And I believe that's all. And then we may have, the board may be called, I'll get back to everyone, for a special meeting sometime in the not too distant future. Okay, so I'll keep in touch with you on that. I think that's it. That can take us right to our new business. Oh,
I forgot one thing. The Thanksgiving Day game is at Waterford High School this year at 10 o'clock, so I hope everybody can make it. Be there square. We're playing East Line as usual.
What time is that?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Thank you. And that will take us to talking about our regular scheduled meeting, or our calendar for the next Board of Education meetings for the year. Sheriff?
So you have a proposed calendar in front of you, and with the change in the budget process, we have the 2 workshops during February, and then an opportunity to adopt the final budget on February 19th, and that gives us a week. Normally it would be the 4th Thursday, but I think with this timeline, so that particular month is just out of sequence by 1 month. I'm unavailable on the night of the 26th, so I had posted here on the 19th in March. And I think outside of November, because Thanksgiving would fall on the 4th Thursday, we pretty much follow kind of our guideline looking at the 4th Thursday. And if we need to change anything around, it would then become a special meeting. But we do need to approve a meeting schedule at this board meeting for December, prior to December.
Just have that in the first part.
Yep.
Any comments or questions? I just may comment again just to commend the superintendent for this change in the February meetings. I think this is going to help the board with our budget preparation, and that timeline is much better for us.
Better information.
Better information. So, since we do need action on this, and if there are no other comments, does somebody care to make a motion?
So moved.
Accept the calendar.
To
Ann?
accept the calendar.
Yes. Second by Cheryl. Any comments? Hearing none, we can move to vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that carries this way. I think that's the right thing to do. We can take a motion to go into executive session for a student confidential matter, and I'd like to invite Allison Moser, assistant principal, and Andre Hauser, actually our superintendent. Is there a motion to go into executive session? Second. Second. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are now going into executive session. Good night, everyone. Thank you for being here. Happy Thanksgiving.
For being available at the door.
Oh, okay.
$30. Okay. They're going to make $15 or more. Yeah, I'm so glad.
A nice group, really nice group. And the football team.
You'll know regardless, so, but if I get that, okay. All right, thank you.
Hi, Al. You too. Hi, Dan.
No, what?